Hello everyone, this is Phoenix here, and today we're going to be doing another top 10 list, and this time it's going to be about the top 10 most badass characters within video games. So yeah, this one's going to be badass list. Or maybe not, but either way though, it's going to be a list about badass characters within video games, or at least I like to think are badass. Since I have done a list about creepy characters within video games, I thought I might as well do one of badass characters within video games. Now before going over the rules, I will like to be fair with one thing, is that there's so many awesome characters within video games that I really like, and as much as I would love to mention all of them, I just can't. So I'm going to just mention 10 random ones that I just really like, or ones that actually have badass qualities. So most of these are not really going to be like my 100% like favorite characters of all time or anything like that, but just ones that I think that will suit this list, since, you know, I'm not going to be mentioning things like, you know, like Mickey Mouse within like the Kingdom Hearts games. I mean, like, as much as he is cool in that game, I don't really consider him to be a badass per se, but either way though, anyways, that's just one thing I'd like to mention before starting this video. And, well, another very important rule is that obviously it has to be characters that I know from games that I've played and whatnot. So yeah, let's have the badass list begin. At number 10, we have Shinjiro Aragaki from Persona 3. Now, he is one of my favorite characters within the third game. But not only does he look cool, but I also find he actually acts like a badass as well. And he has that really badass attitude that he just doesn't give a shit about anyone in the world. Now, he does have a soft side within the game, although mostly within the PSP version though. But however, he is actually really powerful within the game, where he uses an axe and just like cutting fucking shadows up into pieces, which is awesome. And he does say some pretty badass one-liners, such as like,
"Alright, let's kick some ass. Ready for this? I'm tired of this shit. This is how I do things. Adios, asshole."
Yep, those are some badass one-liners if you ask me. Now, I would like to say more about Shinjiro, but unfortunately I don't want to spoil anything for the game for anyone that hasn't played it yet, so I'll leave it at that. But however, he is a badass. At number 9, we have Jack Hamilton from Artolico, Melody of Alemia. Another character that I really like and that I do consider to be a badass is Jack Hamilton, as I said already. Now, not only the fact that he has a really cool looking hat, but he also has a mechanical arm with a chain gun on it, which is pretty badass looking. But not only just for looks, but I also do find his personality is pretty damn cool. I mean, for one, he likes to like hit on the ladies all the time, which is pretty hilarious. And he does it in such a fashion that he just doesn't give a fuck.
Your beauty was a siren call I couldn't ignore. Your radiance shines like a star on a cold winter's night. This bar became a paradise the moment you set foot inside it.
Like, he knows that he's like using like really cheesy lines and stuff, but he doesn't care. He'll just do it anyway. So if anything, he's more and less of like a badass comedian. Now, he does appear in the third Artolico game, but however, they changed the way he looks. In fact, he actually looks almost like Snake from Metal Gear, which is actually really cool, but I mean, I prefer like the first outfit because he looks more original. That's just something I'd like to point out, but anyways, so yeah, he is actually one of my favorite characters within the Artolico games, and well, yeah, he's a badass. And for number 8, we have KOS-MOS from Xenosaga. Now, yes, she is a robot girl, but I have to say though, she does have a lot of badass equipment with her though. Like, she has an arm cannon, an arm sword, an arm hammer, and like an arm drill. Like, she's packing it there. And not only that though, but she even like opens up her abs and like shoots lasers out of those, which is pretty insane. And she even has the power to make like these waves that go like all around her from like really far away and like blow the fuck out of like everything around that area, which is pretty badass. So within the things that she does, yeah, I'd say she's a pretty badass like that type of way. But as for her personality though, I mean, she is a robot, so I mean, there's only very few things that she can do really though. But she pretty much just wants to accomplish her mission and whatnot, and just follows whatever what Shion asks her to do. But yeah, her mission is pretty much just to like annihilate the hell out of the Gnosis, which is like the main bad guys of the series and whatnot. So not much I can really say, since, you know, as again, I don't want to spoil anything though. But to me, I think she's actually a pretty badass character within the Xenosaga game. And number 7, we have, well, we have a tie between two characters that are very similar, and I don't know if I'm breaking the rules here though, but there are two characters within the same game that are very similar, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. And they happen to be Scorpion and SubZero from Mortal Kombat. Now the reason why I made them a tie is mainly because of the fact I really can't decide which one I like better. I mean, they're both really cool and awesome and badass. Well, you know, they have a lot of relations with each other, with the whole fact that they got into a big fight, you know, like one of them killed each other's families and whatnot, and now one of them wants revenge and shit, so yeah, it makes it a bit more intense if you ask me. Also, they were like the original ninjas within the Mortal Kombat games, because, you know, of course, there's also like Reptile, Ermac, and Chameleon and whatnot, so, you know, without going to make complicated crap shit, I'm just gonna just stick it with Scorpion and SubZero because they were the original ones that started it all. But let's face it though, how could these characters not be badass? I mean, have you ever played Mortal Kombat before? I mean, if you have, well then I think you would know. And for number 6, we have Ryu Hayabusa from the Ninja Gaiden games. Now one thing that is very interesting to know with this character is the fact that this character has been around for so long that he has even been around since when cutscenes first came out. And sure, he doesn't really talk a lot within the video games, like the old ones and the new ones, but however, when you are this badass, you don't really need to say words for anything, considering he is one of the most badass ninjas out there within video games, I find. Like, for one, he is very powerful, and he also has a lot of weaponry to use. Like, I mean, if you ever played Ninja Gaiden Sagma, well, there's actually one weapon that isn't really ninja-like. In fact, it's actually like a giant, like, looking bazooka, and you're probably wondering, yeah, it's not ninja-like, but you know what? He is so badass that, you know, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, this ninja is not only good with a sword and ninja stars, but he's also really good with, like, other things, like lances and two-handed swords, double swords, and all that cool shit. So, yeah, Ryu is actually probably one of my favorite ninja characters within video games. In number 5, we have... Now, before revealing this badass, I'd like to say that this is a character from the Dynasty Warrior games, and as you know, I really like that series a lot, and you have to admit one thing, is that there is a lot of cool-ass characters within those games, and it was really hard to pick one since there's so many of them, but however, I downed it to one that I think is well worthy to put on this list. And that character happens to be Zhongliao. Now, I find it pretty amazing how this character originally worked under Lu Bu, which is also a pretty badass character, a very popular one no less, and then after when Lu Bu was killed, he then eventually went on to move to work for Cao Cao. And from there on, he only got more badass than he ever did. Now, one thing that always comes to mind while thinking of Zhongliao is the fact that when he was defending Hefei from the Wu soldiers, and he defended that base with like between like a shit ton of guys when they were like outnumbered, but he still like kicked all their asses. And I'm not just saying this within the game wise, but even historically, he even did this, and that was pretty amazing as well. And most of the time when he's in a battle, he's always so calm and just ready to like go kick some ass all the time. So for that reason though, I really do think he is a badass for that. And he is feared by many of the other officers within the game, so with that being said, that just proves you just don't want to fuck with him. Now, as for number 4, we have Masune Dante from Sengoku Basara. Now, this is my favorite character within the Sengoku Basara games, and I think this is the main reason why, is the fact that he's just so goddamn badass. He is a fearless ruler who is like very over the top and does like a lot of crazy shit. Like, for one, his weapon is actually 6 samurai swords at once. Now, that's not even possible in real life, but I have to say, that is fucking badass, the fact that he can pull it off. Like, he pretty much uses them as dragon claws, pretty much. Well, he is nicknamed as the One-Eyed Dragon, after all. And he is also very fast and powerful as well, which is great, and uses, like, lightning attacks. And not only that, but even his horse is badass. I mean, his horse is pretty much resembles like a motorcycle. Like, it has like an exhaustion pipe on the back and has like a handlebars. I mean, that is some intense shit. And in some ways, this character kind of reminds me of like a samurai version of Dante from Devil May Cry. And I'm talking about like the old Dante, not that Dante that looks like he never took a shower in his life. And ironically enough, I do think, if I remember right, that the old Dante's voice actor also did Masune's voice, which is pretty damn cool. So yeah, a 6 sword wielding samurai that rides on a horse that kind of resembles a motorcycle and does like lightning attacks and shit that is like way over the top. I mean, if that's not badass, then I don't know what the fuck is. Now we're down to the final 3, and the 3rd spot belongs to Nightmare from Soul Calibur. Now I know this is only a minor thing there, but I mean, even his name just sounds badass. I mean, it's just like Nightmare. I mean, you just know that this guy's gonna be a badass. Now, pretty much, he's a badass looking knight with a huge demon arm and wields a soul-edged sword, and pretty much just like harvests his souls by killing all the humans in the world by trying to resurrect the full power of Soul Edge. Now, that is pretty damn badass if you ask me. He's also very violent as well. In fact, if I remember one thing that he does say in one of the games, he actually says something about like it's raining blood, which is actually pretty awesome, to the fact that he would actually mention something about a song from Slayer. So pretty much destruction is like the name of his game. And one other thing that is pretty damn badass that he does in the third game is that he actually transforms into another bigger beast called Night Terror, and yeah, I guess you can say that's like his Super Saiyan form. But yeah, he's actually one of my favorite characters though within the Soul Calibur games, but the name Nightmare pretty much says it all for all his badassery. And as for number 2, we have Snake from the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Now, Snake is a badass character just for the sheer fact that 1, he kicks tons of ass, and 2, he just never gives up. Whether he is young or old, he still kicks ass. And he has like so many bad days considering the fact that he has to go through so much shit, and for an example of one would be like going through a microwaved hallway. I mean, like, goddamn, like that's insane. And I know another thing you're probably thinking is that, like, why didn't I mention Big Boss? Well, when you think about it, Solid Snake and Big Boss are pretty much the same people, but just, like, Snake is a clone of Big Boss, so, yeah, I guess it works in all either way. I mean, they both kick ass no matter which way you think about it. And just the fact that Snake knows, like, CQC and, like, knows, like, a shit ton of things about guns, I mean, just that on its own is pretty fucking badass as it is. So overall, I think Snake is actually a really badass character, and I mean, how is he not badass? I mean, he's pretty much done it all. Like hell, he's even killed a guy that was immortal, and there's not many people that can say that, even though I know this is not real life here, but seriously though, that is fucking cool. Now before revealing number 1, I'd just like to go over some honorable mentions. Now I know there could be like a shit ton of honorable mentions though, but we're only going to keep it short, just to name a couple of them. Such as Corvo from Dishonored, Iori from the King of Fighters games, SBO the Chameleon from the Sonic the Hedgehog games, Mr. Grimm from the Twisted Metal games, Captain Falcon from F-Zero, even though I know he only started fighting within the Super Smash Bros. Games, but you know what I mean. Chun-Li from the Street Fighter games, Regina from the Dino Crisis games, Claire Redfield from the Resident Evil games, and like who I mentioned once within this video before was Dante from Devil May Cry, and like I said, the old one. And like I said already, I could go on and on and on about like really badass characters within video games, but I think we're going to end it here and move on to the next spot for number 1. Now as for the number 1 spot, we have Duke Nukem from, well, Duke Nukem. Now this guy is like the epitome of badass. For reasons such as, well, he is the last dude on Earth and all like the babes have been stolen by aliens, so now he's gonna go back for some revenge and like kick all those aliens' asses and rescue all the babes in the world. And he uses really crazy over-the-top weapons that are really badass. And of course, his most infamous thing that Duke Nukem is known for is his one-liners, such as,
I'm an equal opportunity ass kicker.
Hail to the king, baby.
I'm not gonna fight you. I'm gonna kick your ass.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum. Shit happens.
Son of a bitch. What a pussy. You invincible headshot scripted cheater. It's my way or hell, it's my way.
Yep, very infamous and kick-ass as well. I mean, a lot of them are really funny and corny, but like in like a really badass way. I mean, like I said, he is truly the epitome of badass. And if I remember right, he was one of the very first video game characters to have a voice. And I have to say, they actually did a really damn good job on that. And I'm sure that anyone that plays video games at least knows who Duke Nukem is and now how badass and over the top it can be. So, yeah, for reasons like that, Duke Nukem is a true badass of video games. Now there's not much else I could say, other than the fact that all the characters that I mentioned were badass as fuck. So there you have it. That's my list of the top 10 most badass characters within video games. So tell me your thoughts on my video on what you think about the most badass characters that I mentioned. Or you can even say your own characters that you really like that are badass. And I know that there's a lot of over-the-top badasses out there that I couldn't mention, but maybe you can suggest me some and maybe I might know who you're going to be talking about, since I really love discussing this type of stuff. So either way, give your thoughts and opinions on whatever the case may be that's related with this video. So I'm going to hear on out, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and commenting.